Now I see. That's upsetting. Hey guys, I'm Kate. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to what I'm calling my prologue experiment. I have made this confession before, but sometimes I skip the prologues in books. Okay, let's unpack this a little bit. First off, I did do a poll and I'm not the only one. I got 4.4 thousand votes. About 18% of us sometimes skip the prologue or never read the prologue, but like a solid 80% do read the prologue every time. There was a lot of good conversation that went on in that poll, in that community post, with some people saying it's almost sacrilege to not read what the author has purposefully put in their book. But I want to walk you through a couple reasons why I sometimes skip. If it's under like 5-7 pages, I will never skip the prologue. It's when we get into the longer prologues that I tend to skip them. And it's because I've been burned before, frankly. Is it fair to judge a new author that I have the book of based off of all the other prologues I've read? Probably not. But oftentimes prologues seem to serve this purpose of setting up the world or some of the story that I'm not going to know about until halfway through the book or more. And frankly, I'll have forgotten a lot of the time. That is my reasoning. I would actually argue I probably only skip prologues 25% of the time. If I hear that a book's really good, I won't skip the prologue no matter how long it is. So yes, I'm gonna stand at 25% of the time. However, for our AuthorTube chat book club pick, Jessica Williamson and I chose Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. And it turns out that book has a prologue. Let me state that it was only like 3 pages and I normally would not have skipped it. You'll hear me say that when I'm actually vlogging this experience too, but normally I would not have skipped this prologue. However, Jessica read the book before me and she said that she found the prologue to actually be spoiler-y. And she's not the only one I've seen say this, that it almost ruined the experience of reading the book. And so she said for once that she appreciated my prologue skipping and that I should do it on purpose. So that is the birth of this reading experiment, reading challenge thing. I did not read the prologue to Strange the Dreamer. In fact, I didn't read it until the very end of the book. So I'd finished the book, which for those of you who have read this novel, and there are spoilers throughout this vlog, so if you have not read the book and you don't want to spoil, don't watch this video. But I did not know the twist ending and I felt that in full force. And then when I went back to read the prologue, I'm just gonna let you, I'm gonna let past me show you how this went. Expires in 10 hours. No prologue, no prologue, no prologue. Part 1. Shrestha. Now, when a dream comes true but not for the dreamer. Archaic from Shrez, the bastard god of fortune who was believed to punish supplicants for inadequate offerings by granting their heart's desire to another. Ooh, the fuck? This was the new mystery. This, he never doubted, was magic. And now we're on the 2nd chapter, but like, okay. Honestly, that first chapter kind of felt like a prologue. It is very beautifully written. Oh my god, it is like reading a song. The entirety of that chapter, there was not a single moment where it didn't feel like it flowed beautifully and all the words were so descriptive, and I had to take pictures and some stuff because I loved it so much, but it definitely, the first chapter felt like a prologue. And the 2nd chapter starts with Laszlo grew up. Like, that first chapter definitely could have served as a prologue, so now I'm wondering what the F the prologue was. But I love everything that this is set up. I already feel attached to Laszlo. I'm interested in the vanished city and how the name, he cried it out, and now it no longer exists. Fascinating. I didn't realize it had chapter titles. The Dream Chooses the Dreamer.
Hachette Audio presents Strange the Dreamer.
This is interesting because like we had 3 chapters of what felt like a build, and then this 4th chapter, though still really interesting, it feels like a step backward in the timeline as we're being explained the history of these 2 characters together. Just an interesting way to do it. Okay, I had my headphones in when this was playing the first time, but
Fairy tales had never been thirstier.
all of a sudden there was music in the background and I was terrified. Oh, because we're changing parts. Okay, I think the setup's actually really interesting. I'm really excited. It's weird. I've been hearing things from different people who said it was slow moving, which I have felt so far. But also I'm excited for what it's promising. I think it's so interesting, so I'm hoping that it lives up to what I was expecting. The other weird part is I think for years I thought this was a young adult book based off of I'd heard a lot of booktubers talking about it who predominantly read young adult, but so far nothing in it feels young adult-y to me necessarily. I do think there's some amount of a coming of age bit to it. Certainly that's what we're experiencing this first part. What is it on Goodreads? Okay, fantasy, young adult, romance, fiction, young adult, fantasy, magic, fantasy, high fantasy, adventure. Yeah, am I missing something? I think that's just the interesting part about young adult sometimes is how it can sort of straddle, especially in these fantasy realms where, you know, the characters are already in a society where they've had to work for years. So I get that, you know, I'm writing a pirate series and it has the coming of age elements, and she's also been working in the castle for years, you know, so she's not living a life that a lot of current age young adults are living necessarily. So anyways, it's just fascinating. Okay. I am now halfway through this book. The thing about it that I'm realizing... Oh, good job, Duke. Yes, sir. The thing is, it's beautifully written. Like, it's making me rethink all the ways I've used similes and metaphors and stuff like that in my own writing, which is incredible. And I think it would be worth rereading just like the first couple of chapters every once in a while for an example of beautiful lyrical writing. Like it is that good. It is beautiful. The beauty and the world building and the strength of the characters are doing a lot, but ultimately like nothing has happened in this book. And it's so confusing because at least now I'm kind of, you know, we're narrowing the scope of what's probably about to come as we get more and more sort of reveals. But that's all I can really say has happened, is that we've been revealed more information. If I were to like plot the book out, like if you ask me to tell someone what's happened in the book so far, I'd be like, well, you know, a contingency of them have traveled. They're at the place. And that's it. You know, like little things have kind of happened, but again, more so in like a reveal sort of way, not in a like I could bullet point list this as a thing that's happened sort of way. And I'm not saying all stories need to do that, but I think there would have been something really strong in having something happen earlier. I don't know. And so I keep thinking about this freaking prologue because the first chapter, even the second chapter, like they both felt prologue-esque to me. So I'm sitting here like, what could the prologue have been? But I have a theory. So I think that Laszlo's also God spawn. Because when you set up at the start of a story that they're like an orphan and stuff, I feel like that's never how it actually is when you're in a supernatural world. So I think he's God spawn, and that would explain why he was able to hear the real name of Weep and like taste it on his tongue and all this stuff. God, the descriptions of this are beautiful. The way she talks about it tasting, I think it tasted like honey and something in cursive, or like it was something like that. And I was just like, I got it, you know? Oh man, that was like 8.5 hours of books ago and I still like almost remember it. Thought it was so pretty. Anyway, so yes, that's my theory, and maybe that's what the prologue was hinting at, because Jessica told me that the prologue gave away too much. So I'm thinking that's gonna be the big reveal, like the twist, and then maybe that's what the prologue gave away. Because what else could it be at this point? And even then, realistically, that's also more of a reveal than an action item. So, I don't know, but it's beautiful, so it's like I don't mind reading it. I'm at a loss. I think that's what it is, but I will keep listening to it because our chat is tonight. I'm behind. Okay, I only had to get a little bit farther for Laszlo to have a reaction to the Byzantium that the Golden Godson does not have, so I think I'm bang on with my theory.
Her tears were fierce and angry, and gentle, tragic trails like the ones that painted rubies in sparrows' cheeks. Minna's tears raged. Now he was simply amazed by the turn things could take between two people, and the feelings that could grow while you distracted yourself from the end of the world.
Oh my god, the last lines of this book. Hold on.
Because this story was not over yet.
That's it. Those are the last words. To be continued. What? Excuse me? Okay, the ending is really cool, I'll admit. I need another sip of wine. My god. Now it's time to read the prologue. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back in my overdrive and we're gonna go to the ebook. I figured something was up. We had the Muse of Nightmare stuff too soon, and that's clearly the next book, you know, because I'm reading it so late. Okay, it's time. The prologue's 3 pages. On the second Sabbath of 12th moon in the city of Weep, a girl fell from the sky. Her skin was blue, her blood was red. Yo! What? Were they predicting the death? She broke over an iron gate, crimping it on impact, and there she hung, impossibly arched, graceful as a temple dancer, swinging a lover's arm. One slick finial anchored her in place, its point protruding from her sternum glittered. They would say a flock of moths came frantic and tried to lift her away. That was true, only that. So they're telling you who it is, too. This does read like a prologue though. Someone screamed, this screamed to others. The others screamed too, not because the girl was dead, but because the girl was blue, and this meant something in the city of Weep. So this was clearly written to be a prologue. The blue girl's ghost gathered itself in Perch. And across the city, atop a monolithic wedge of seamless mirror-smooth metal, a statue stirred as though awakened by the tumult, and slowly lifted its great horned head. Now I see this. That's upsetting, actually. That to me was the coolest part of the book, that we just went like up and killed her, and the way that the child uses her and manipulates Laszlo using her ghost, and like, oh my gosh, that was the best part to me. In the last like what 5 minutes of the book, and then to have that revealed to you, I think that reveals way too much. Because then leading up to the entire story, you would know she's gonna die. And I think I would remember that because that's a character's death. It's not like the normal prologues that bother me where they're very long. Like I said earlier that I probably would have read that one because it's only 3 pages, but I'm glad I did it. Oh man, okay. Anyways, it's time for author tube chat. Let's do this. Okay, now that it has been a few days, I've had some time to let this sink in. I've thought about this more because Jessica asked me what I would rate Strange the Dreamer, and I'm having a hard time between 3 and 4 stars, but the longer I've had away from it, the more I want to say 3 star. The writing is beautiful. It's beautiful. It is so lyrical. I enjoyed it so much. I enjoyed the depth of the characters that we got to see. I enjoyed the world building. The world is fascinating to me. And I felt a lot of those things immediately. You know, the world building, this mysterious city of Weep that's disappeared, you feel instantly. You feel the love of it through Laszlo, which adds to his characterization. There's so much to love about this book. But there's also so much that bums me out about this book, okay? Nothing happens. And if you take away the prologue, because my theory is they put the prologue there to show that something is gonna happen. Like, there are no plot points you can put down. And that is actually really frustrating as a reader because you're just like, what is the point? And you can have that mystery for a while, but this one carried on the mystery for way too long. I felt like the pacing was confusing in places, like it turned into a love story in the back 75% of the novel or something. And then Thyone Nero, for all his importance in the early 40-ish% of the book, completely disappears. And this isn't if you look at the timeline of things, it's probably not that strange. Like the timeline between the first 60% of the book as they're traveling to like the back 40% or whatever, it goes very quickly here. But it doesn't feel that way, again, because it's 60-40. So it's just, I can tell that it was meant to be a first book, but it's setting up so much. And I just wish something more had happened. That's what I'm saying. I think she should have thrown like a couple more things. And it's disappointing that she didn't. That's really what it is. It is disappointing that there weren't more things there. So 3, I guess. I don't like having the feeling of disappointment, even though I found so much of it so beautiful. I would read more of Laini Taylor's work based off of this book. That's fair to say, because I loved her writing so much. But I'm left with so much frustration. I just can't believe I loved that twist ending so much, and to think that that would have been spoiled for people, holy shit, I would have been mad. I get why Jessica says it's spoilery. Anyways, I'm glad I did this experiment. I'm glad I got to experience this book without the prologue. Please do comment down below. Let me know what you think of prologues. We've already had a great discussion about it in the community post, but let me know about what you think. Can prologues be too spoilery? And what's the book that you've read that had the best prologue? Do you oftentimes even remember the prologue? And do you prefer epilogues or prologues? I'd be curious. But thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you especially to some of my new patrons this month. Gigi Huntley, Emily Louise Church, Chastity Dodd, May Thurston, Katie Richardson, and Jana Harris. And I'll see you all very soon with a new video. Bye! By the time, which character is that?